How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to quickly show you how to build a weeping willow tree. A majority of this video is just adding extra details and kind of the theory of building the tree, so you'll have to pardon the length of the video. It's a little bit longer than my normal video for tutorials, but in this case it's kind of required. So this is the weeping willow tree that we are going to be building today, along with some surroundings that I suggest you use in the video and a few tips that you can see kind of all collectively here in this build. So if you're interested in learning how to build this tree, please stay tuned. If you enjoy the tutorial, make sure to leave a thumbs up. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do to build this tree, as we always do, is go ahead and start with the trunk. So a willow tree, a weeping willow tree that is, they are typically kind of like tall, and then they just have branches that kind of hang over, which is the weeping part. So what I normally do for this, I'm not going to go and teach you how to place every single block. I'm just going to kind of teach you the idea of building a willow tree. People seem to really like it when I teach the theory behind it rather than just show you how to replicate something. So basically what I normally do for these types of trees, I just build a random direction with the trunk and go all the way up, just enough to where I feel like it's an appropriate height. And weeping willow trees are typically pretty high and the leaves go really low. So that's just what we're going to do. We're just going to build those all around and just kind of carry that random direction shape. And right there on the end, we're going to just kind of bring it down one. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. Branches can really go anyway. With this tree, they'll look fine, but these are actually going to be kind of hidden, but also seen a little bit more than other trees we've built have been. So these will be a little bit more important than the other videos. So I guess this shape will actually do just fine. Maybe want to bring those in just a bit on this side though. So I'm going to do that and go about there. That should be good. You want to avoid like wide areas like this because it'll kind of create a empty section once the tree's all done. So I'm just kind of trying to develop a good shape. That'll be good. That's perfect actually. So what I'm also going to do is kind of bring this down just a bit. And the tree trunks for these trees, they don't necessarily slope, but they do just enough to where you can do it in Minecraft by doing this. So it's not really too much to worry about. And while we normally do the trunks at the end, like the bases of the trunk, we're going to go ahead and just kind of fill out a design for them. So to do that, I'm just going to kind of work around. I normally just recommend playing with the tree trunk design because they're not necessarily the easiest thing to replicate or come up with on the spot, but you can come up with it like after playing with it essentially. So that'll work for me. Actually, I might tear it down just a bit. The normal one I do is just kind of that because it's good from most angles, but I kind of want to go a little bit more for this. So maybe do that. That might be good. And then perhaps bring out one on the back. That's perfect. Okay, so now we can move to the leaves. Now this tree, I use birch leaves for it because when I think of weeping willow, I kind of think of like dying and decaying, even though it's not necessarily the case. And if you look at them, they are kind of pale like this instead of very vibrant and lively. You can kind of mix these up though, and I do kind of plan on doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out the blocks first. Now as usual, I'm using World Edit for this, and I'm using this command here, which allows me to replace logs with an all-sided log block. You don't have to do this, but I do it on servers whenever I get the chance, just because it's kind of useful and it looks nice, and definitely something, you know, worth doing if you can. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's very easy to do once you use that command. You're basically just using the replace command. So it's REPL log colon 12, and that is the metadata for these blocks. Alright, so let's go ahead and begin with the leaves. What I normally do is just go to each end, like we'll start with this one, place one block on top and then one on the side, and just kind of bring it down. Make it look like the trees are laying on top and or the leaves are laying on top and just kind of falling over, just like that. And you're going to do that on all sides of the little ending block there. And I normally put it shorter on the inside and a bit longer on the outside, just because we really want to go for the longer tree leaves on the outside, and then when you go inside you want it to feel kind of like a canopy. That's kind of how it feels in, you know, real life with weeping willow trees. So here on the end, on the outside, we're going to go a little bit longer, and then right there on the inside, we're just going to go about that, just like that. So that way when we walk in, we kind of have a nice like open fill. Once again, create that canopy effect. And you're just going to want to do that on each end. It doesn't really matter how far down you go or the length of each side, as long as you kind of create that effect, you'll be good. It's one of those things, just like the tree trunk, where you just kind of have to work with it. So this is a tree that I've actually been wanting to do for a while. I will be using it in my Let's Play soon, so if you're interested in learning more about these trees, feel free to check that series out. It's really good for campgrounds and stuff like that, so I definitely recommend you learn it. It's a very good tree to kind of play with. So once you've kind of worked on the ending there, that's kind of like the biggest part of the tree. And it's done. No, I'm just kidding. It looks like a pom-pom for some reason, like a really sad pom-pom. So what the next step is just go along the top here on one branch and just place leaves on top of it. And you're gonna pretty much do the same thing on each tree or each little block, and just kind of bring them down like random length each time. I normally just kind of like to play with this. It's not really anything you can just do like perfect each time. And also, I don't ever fill in this end block. I like the log to be shown, but the rest of them I kind of like to hide. So I'm gonna also go around and just kind of add like a little perimeter around the tree with leaves just to kind of hide it. And so just kind of keep playing with it until you come up with a shape that you like, and try to bring it out where it kind of rounds. But once you you don't really have to worry about it too much, because when you do other leaves, it kind of all does that on its own. And I'll kind of show you what I mean once we're heading towards more finishing this side. Sorry about the sun from the shaders. It's kind of crazy lately. Alright, so as you can see, it's really square right now. It's just this kind of right angle. You want to just kind of play with that and bring it out slightly. And then you can kind of bring it out so that it will overlay again. So the biggest thing about these trees is that whenever there's just a big set of leaves in one area, they will droop down. So that's pretty much how you develop that effect. And then when you walk in, it should be a lot, like as you can see in here, that it's much more open. So that's kind of the premise of this tree. So I'm going to go ahead and get working on these leaves here, and I'll get back to you once I've kind of done it all. So I'll see you in just a second. Alright, once you've kind of played with the branches and the leaves just a bit, you can kind of call that step complete. I usually just work on it as I build the tree, because every now and then I'll catch an angle that just doesn't look good, and I'll try and kind of work on it. Like this particular branch is not my favorite. I'm not liking how it rounds like this. So what I might do to fix that is just kind of fill it in and just kind of bring a log below it. Let me go ahead and replace that so that it kind of fixes. And just kind of, well, I guess it does the same thing. But I guess when the log isn't seen, it's not as bad. It's a little more subtle. So that'll do it for now. You can just kind of work with it. I mean, I would do a little bit more to it, but we've got more steps to do, and I don't want the video to be too long for you guys. But just basically work with the leaves until you come up with the shape that you really like. So next we have a few optional steps. One of those optional steps is to kind of interchange oak leaves and birch leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and do that using the Rebel tool again. You can just simply place them. You don't have to go through every leaf and do it, but just kind of, splash it around. It's kind of nice to add like a diversity to the tree. So whenever I get the chance to add texture and shadow, that I usually like to do that, and I feel like this is one of those cases where it looks good with it. So whenever you use different textures within a tree, it kind of makes it look a little bit more round in a sense, because it makes it look a little bit more like there's depth to it. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I don't sound crazy. Alright, so that'll do for now. And the next kind of optional thing you can do, let me go ahead and get rid of these, is to use fences. Fences are something that people have asked for me to include in my trees for a long time, so hopefully I'm making a few people happy by doing this. But one thing you can do is just kind of add a few fences here and there to create miniature branches and maybe even sticks. It really helps to kind of give it more texture, which is something you guys know I enjoy, and also just to kind of add to it in a way, add more detail. To see the thinner branches there, it kind of makes it look you know, a little bit more like a tree in a way. And I also like to kind of add them throughout here and just kind of make them droop down just like the nature of the normal tree, just like that. I mean, this is really an option, but it's not necessarily required. Like as you saw, we kind of had a finished tree there a moment ago, but it's just something you can do to give it more detail if you'd like. And the last thing I like to do is use coarse dirt and just go around the root of the tree, around this area, and just kind of splash it around. I use World Edit just to make the video quicker, so that way it's not too long for you guys, so please pardon that. But you can basically accomplish the same effect just by kind of placing around. Let me go ahead and fix this. It's going to drive me nuts. There we go. And then after that, I would use ferns, grass, and azure bluet, or whatever they are, as well as green carpets to just kind of create a surrounding of nature. Like fallen leaves could be the green carpets. I'd go a little careful though, like don't want to do too much. I may have already done too much. You can also use yellow carpets. They kind of look nice for fallen leaves, but it really depends on the general biome that you're building in, so I'd be careful when doing that. But you just basically want to place a few ferns, nothing crazy. I usually like to find some sort of surrounding nature theme whenever I'm building a tree that goes with it, and I feel like this looks really nice, especially in a campground setting, so you might want to consider doing that. You don't have to go crazy. I definitely don't recommend using bone meal here because it'll just add all sorts of colors to it and really throws it off. The last thing I normally do is just add these little flowers and just kind of pop them here and there, and it kind of makes it all kind of tie together really nicely. You can also use something a little bit more subtle, like maybe orange tulip or a white tulip. Yellow flowers would go good. They'd kind of go with the carpets. And that's pretty much how you build a weeping willow tree. You might also want to consider adding vines. It'll kind of give it that drooping down effect a little bit more, but in this case I'm not going to do it because vines just, they kind of grow all the way down and it really makes it look like too much. So that is how you build a weeping willow tree. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I look forward to the next one where we will build anything you guys suggest. So definitely make sure to subscribe if you're interested in tutorials and more building tips. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.